and welcome to lesson number 2 for the Clawhammer Banjo. These lessons are for absolute beginners and they take it really very slow. We only cover really a couple little things every lesson, so don't expect to just watch one lesson and think you can go away and just be able to play Clawhammer Banjo really easily from that. It takes it step by step. I find that tons of videos online are really great, but I have a lot of students who come to me said they've looked for lessons online and things just kind of go a bit too fast. So that's why I just take things step by step. So this is really, as I said before, just lesson number 2. And in the previous lesson, I just covered the most basic downstroke and how to hold our hand whilst we do that. I also covered the up movement, the up pluck. Those are basically the two fundamental movements on the Clawhammer Banjo style. There's nothing else really other than that 99.9% of the time. So we really need to nail them as well as we can. Fundamentally, that really is just it. We've just got down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now, in this lesson, we're going to look at that again and we're going to refine it a bit. Obviously, although we just have down, up, we can do things with that aren't just hitting all the strings and plucking a string. We can do much more than that. So that's what we're going to cover a little bit in this lesson, as well as looking again at the fundamentals of how to do that, because it's really important to always revisit the most basic bits of how we play this. So hopefully you have watched my first lesson. If not, I'll cover it just a little bit here, but I do recommend you go back and look at it. The key to the Clawhammer style is really a very relaxed hand. We want to keep our wrist straight, but our hand very relaxed. A relaxed hand will automatically take the position, the kind of hand position that we want it to. But importantly, we do want this wrist to be straight. So not like this, not like this. We want it to be straight. It will flop a little bit as we kind of play the style a little bit, but we're not moving from the wrist, and nor are we moving like this when we're playing. It comes from the elbow. So it looks like this. Really important that this thumb always rests on this top string, comes down, it's on that string, it comes up, and we can pluck it. But it's really important that that pluck happens on the way up, like that. We don't go down, pluck, and then up. It's down, up and pluck, down, up and pluck, like that. So that's a brief recap of the first lesson. I go into much more detail in that one, and again, really take our time through it. Hopefully it's not painfully slow, but I do think it's best to take this kind of approach. So what we're going to cover in this lesson is what we call the Dum Ditty. This really is the core of banjo playing. The tune that I opened this lesson with is called Cripple Creek, and basically all the way through it, we just do this Dum Ditty. So in essence, it's just down, down, pluck, down, down, pluck. That's really all there is to it. So it's called the Dum Ditty because it's dum, ditty, dum, ditty. It really is as simple as that, even though it does sound a bit silly. So if I'm just going to hit all the strings, it would sound like this. So you'll notice that I'm going down, down, pluck. On that first down, on the way up, I don't pluck it, but I do on the second one. So it's down, down, pluck, down, down, pluck. To start off with, your pluck might not be particularly loud. That's fine. We're not aiming to get everything perfect right away. Down, down, pluck. Just give that a go. Again, keep everything as relaxed as possible. Straight wrist, relaxed hand. Movement for now, really we're going to go for nice big exaggerated movements from the elbow. Down, down, up, down, down, up. Super important, again, that this thumb rests on this string when we come down, even if we're not going to play it. Down, notice it's resting. Down, pluck, down, down, pluck. We just want to get into the habit of this thumb just always resting there. So you can probably just take that exercise and go away for, I mean, it depends how much you practice. It could be a day or two, could be a day of practicing a little bit. Could be a week if you don't practice a lot. It's fine either way. You could just go away with just that exercise and just do that a bit and just get used to it and really try to make sure that we are as relaxed as possible. So once you've had a little bit of a go with that, you can start trying to speed up a little bit because I'm going very slow at the moment. And that's how you should start. But eventually, banjo playing isn't just down, down, up, that slowly at all. As I said before, the beginning of this lesson, I played Cripple Creek. And as I said, it's just Dum Ditty all the way through, basically, with the right hand. It just down, down, pluck. But obviously nowhere near as slow as that. There's some slides and stuff that add kind of a few extra sounds. But fundamentally, it is just down, down, up on this right hand. Down, down, up. Add some slides in, adds a few extra sounds. So it's usually this point, once we start doing the Dum Ditty, when I teach people, that I notice what we can do is slip into swung feel a little bit, which is fine. Playing with a swung feel is perfectly appropriate in some situations, but we don't want it to be our default. So just to be clear what swung rhythm is, it's obviously played a lot in swing music. It's played in jazz and blues. I mean, it's played in tons of genres. But what it is a kind of, it's this kind of feel. Played in like lots of blues music, you might recognize this kind of feeling. That kind of thing. Again, there's nothing wrong with playing a Dum Ditty with that kind of feel, but we don't want it to be our default. So I'll play it swung, and then I'll play it straight, just so you know the difference. Your playing might not be falling into this, but it might be. And there's nothing wrong with playing swung again, but we don't want it to be our default. We want the default to be what we call a straight rhythm. So quite often people will fall into this kind of rhythm. Again, to repeat myself, I repeat myself a lot. There's nothing wrong with that inherently, but that's not a default. A default feels like this. That is straight rhythm, and again, swung is. I'm not going to go into the technical details of what the difference between swung and straight rhythm is. I think for now it's more valuable to just try to feel it. But again, this is the feeling we're going for. Everything's much more on the beat and straightforward rather than having that swung feel. So do try to practice it straight rhythm rather than swung. But still, the most important thing here is just trying to keep relaxed. Just try to get that basic rhythm down. Just play it over and over and over and over until it starts to become quite automatic. And then we can start moving on to the other things. So we've only looked at the right hand so far while playing the banjo, but we do in fact have two hands, and we use them both when we play this instrument. So our left hand as well. It'll be the other way around if you're left-handed, obviously, but the point is we have the claw hammer hand and we have the fretting hand. So apologies if you're left-handed and I'm speaking upside down, but you'll get used to it. I will try to refer to it the other way around. So I'll call it our fretting hand and our claw hammer hand. So our fretting hand, whether that's your left or your right, we use this to play on the fretboard to push down the strings against these metal frets, and that changes the pitch of any string. So that's how we play different notes on a string. We need to push down at specific points near the fret to change the pitch. So for now, all we're going to do is make sure that our hand position is right, and we're going to learn two chords today. That's all we're going to learn. And then in future lessons, we'll obviously learn more. But for now, just two chords. So this is the way I like to teach it. And again, it's really bit by bit. Make sure that we're sitting upright. Again, banjo between our legs. We don't need to worry about our right hand for now. Just hold it in place. We get our left hand, or our fretting hand, sorry if you're left-handed, open it up like this, and you'll see this bit here between the finger and the thumb here. This bit is where the neck wants to sit. The banjo neck, or a guitar neck, or a bass guitar neck, or whatever, they're all very similar. It's kind of like a speed bump, I think of it. It's got like a little hump to it. And there's kind of a peak to it. This peak, right in the middle of it, basically, broadly wants to sit in that little bit between your first finger and your thumb. Fits in like this. So get your hand, get into this position first. This is how we start. And then I'd say for now, just happily, just let your thumb come around the neck, but relax your hand around it. Keep your wrist straight. Keep your elbow out from your body. So we don't want it in like this. We don't want it flying out like this either. Just out a bit here. Get the neck to sit into this bit of our hand. Just let it relax. Some important things. We don't want, these are good habits to get into. We don't want our thumb to point all the way up here. We want it to be pointing up really rather than pointing towards the headstock of the banjo. We don't want our palm to be flat against the neck like this, so it's out like this a bit. Some people will find that they do this. In fact, most people will find that they do this naturally and the banjo neck will sit into the palm. If that's the case, just move your wrist out. Keep your elbow in the same place. Can you see how my wrist is moving? Just move your wrist out a bit and let it sit here. Relax your hand. Don't clench it around the neck or anything for now. Just relax it gently. This, broadly speaking, is the kind of position that our hand will sit in when we're fretting. You'll notice that everything's nice and near the neck. Nothing's tense. Everything's relaxed. This is the basic position. So today, we're going to learn 2 chords. We're going to learn the C chord and the E minor chord. We learn these 2 first because they're popular. They're used a lot in a lot of music relative to the G, which is kind of what a lot of banjo music is oriented around, and because they're very similar to each other. So once we've learnt one, we've kind of learnt 2. So first, the C chord. So get our hand like this, let the neck sit in our hand like this, relax it. That's the position again that we're in. And then we just want to move our hand up and our fingers up into this kind of position. So on the screen will appear a tab and a diagram of how to play this chord, but I will also tell you in a bit more detail. But generally, just get a general impression of how it looks. Straight wrist, elbow out, fingers are not clenched around, thumb isn't all the way wrapped around, the thumb isn't pointing this way, the palm isn't flat against the neck. It's this. If yours doesn't look like this right now, the main problem that people have at this point is the neck sitting flat against the palm of their hand. So push your wrist out. That's probably going to solve a lot of your problems. Anyway, so there'll be a diagram and some tab on the screen appearing now that you can use to learn this chord, but I'll go through it finger by finger and tell you where to put your fingers. So we'll start with our ring finger, this one. This is going to go onto the 2nd fret of this D string, the higher D string, like this. Our first finger on the 1st fret of the B string. So we get this. I would say that these 2 fingers, the first finger and the ring finger, are the 2 most important to get down for the C chord. Once we've got these 2 fingers down, we've really got the fundamental C major chord sound. But we do also want to try getting down this middle finger, which goes on the 2nd fret, goes on the 2nd fret of the low D string like this. So you'll get this kind of shape. Again, look at the tab or the diagram on screen, with our 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the high D string, 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B string, and our 2nd finger on the low D string on the 2nd fret. And that's what we get. Now, these chords can be quite tricky at first if you're not used to playing any instrument, because you're trying to get 3 fingers down at once. This is why, as I said before, these 2 fingers, the 1st finger and the ring finger, the 3rd finger, are the 2 most important. I think it could be really useful to think of these as a pair for this chord. Get these 2 down, and then this finger, the middle finger, is kind of an optional one that we can bring down later. So primarily think these first. So that's that. The way to practice a chord is not to just hold the chord and keep playing. You will not learn a chord that way. You need to leave the chord and come back. So you play the G chord, the open G chord, to the C chord, like this. Or between another chord and it. I would recommend just going from the G to the C chord though for now. And just keep it simple. Just do down strums on each one. Down, 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 like that. And you will learn the chord in no time. Maybe not no time, it will take a bit of time. You need to just keep repeating it until you have learned it. The next chord is the E minor chord, and it's very, very similar, in fact. So if we're in position for the C chord, all we have to do is take off this 1st finger, and then we have it there. That's how I play it. I play it with the 2nd and 3rd finger, or the middle and the ring finger, depending on what you call it. I play it like this. And again, we're not going to learn it by just holding it. We're not going to learn it. We have to G, E minor, G, E minor. And just do this. Keep it nice and simple, repeat it, and eventually you'll memorize it. You need to go in and out of chords to actually memorize it and not just hold it. So there we go, we've got 2 new chords, which gives us 3. We have the G, which we already had. Hey, nice and easy. Then we have the C major chord. And then we have an E minor. We just take off that first finger. Try to make sure that your hand is in this relaxed position, palm away from the neck sitting in our hand between our thumb and our finger like this, and a nice relaxed kind of closed hand around it with our thumb over the neck, or maybe just a bit behind it, but not pointing towards a headstock. The reason that we want to be careful with this position is just that any unnecessary tension in our hand will either limit our playing or just make us more injury prone. Both of those are bad, particularly the injury prone thing. You don't want to hurt yourself playing an instrument, which can actually happen. So just be careful. Just watch that position. If you find yourself doing something wrong like this, just pause a second, move your wrist out. If you find that, this is all the way around here, pause a second, bring it back around. When you start, you're just going to have to watch these things. You're going to have to pay close attention and make sure you get it right. But once the habit is set up, then you're golden. You can just go. So in this lesson, we have learned 2 extra chords, the C major and the E minor, and we've learned how to do the Dum Ditty. So since we have learned chords and we have learned the Dum Ditty style, we can start to combine them a little bit if we want. We can go... The order in which, I kind of mixed it up a little bit there, but the order in which you play them isn't particularly important. The important thing is that you're switching between chords. The Dum Ditty is just kind of going really nice and slow, not really up to tempo of how we would play it usually, but just keep it nice and slow, nice and relaxed. Move between chords. And what you're practicing here, if you do Dum Ditty with chords changing, is a bunch of things at once. It does involve inherently a bit of multitasking. You'd be practicing your Dum Ditty, each individual chord, and changing chords, and trying to play in time. So this can be tricky if you've just started off. So really just take it nice and slow, concentrate on being relaxed, which sounds quite difficult actually. Concentrate on being relaxed. I always say this to people, it doesn't always come across as very helpful, but it really is the important thing. We always want to come back to being relaxed. Don't focus too hard on being relaxed because obviously that's not helpful, but do try to stay relaxed. If you find yourself getting tense, quite often in the shoulders, just take a little break. If your hand is getting tense, just shake it out and come back to it in a bit. But there we go, lesson 2. 2 new chords and a bit of the Dum Ditty. In the next lesson, when it's out, we'll start looking at hitting 1 string at a time because we don't always want to hit all the strings. We might want to hit 1 string. Can take a little bit of practice again to do that. But everything is achievable if we just take it 1 step at a time, and you will eventually get there. So we'll tackle that in the next lesson. Also, if you've spotted that I have this on and you're wondering why, it sits on my middle finger. It's my middle finger that I tend to use to hit the strings when I play Clawhammer Banjo, and I basically just use it. It's a kind of finger pick that is put on backwards and it just pokes out a bit. I use it because I keep my fingernails incredibly short because I play bass as well. And fingernails for playing the bass makes it sound a bit clicky and clacky. I don't like it. So kind of a nail substitute in a way, really. You don't need to have one of these. Some people find it useful. I've always found it useful. If you have a little bit of a fingernail, you don't need it. Everyone's different. So yeah, adds a bit of volume as well, I find. So it's useful in a few different ways, but it's also a bit of a pain because I lose them all the time. But you probably don't need one yet, but you might want to think about it. Just cross that bridge when we get to it. Anyway, that's me, and I will hopefully see you in another lesson.